Okay, so today we're going to have a exciting conversation with Yasser. I was lucky enough to meet Yasser a few years ago to interview him, and I found him really fascinating what he's doing and unearthing some of the African roots of Dominican music that we don't always hear in the more popular versions of Dominican music that you can hear driving around the city, coming out of car windows and any kind of establishment, particularly uptown. So, how you doing over there? Yes, sir. ¿Cómo está por ahí?
I'm great. I'm great. Todo bien. Grateful to be here. I'm grateful to talk to you today.
Well, I'm sure our audience is really excited about hearing, what you have to say about your music and your new album. But I want to start out with just talking about what you tried to do differently with this new album, La Madrugada, which with a Caribbean accent, you understand that means daybreak, La Madrugada, but we're not going to use the Spanish Queen's in Spanish. So tell me about because I interviewed you about your previous album, and this album, has some, updates, changes. Where were you at when you made this album?
Yeah, I will do like a little brief for the people that don't know me and my career and my music. I'm Yasser Tejeda, and I'm a composer, guitar player, and I started composing music with the Dominican roots flavor, using the percussion of Dominican roots of Afro-Dominican rhythms. My first album was like that, more with more jazz and experimentation. And my second album was like that as well, including more vocals and different arrangement, but still with the Dominican roots music and the Afro-Dominican accents and fusions. And in this album, which is my third full-length album, and I'm doing the same, but on this one, I focused more in the production, having elements like the saxophone player playing melodies, less improvisation, less kind of free jazz or improvisation. It's more song structure, but it's still keeping the same roots of Afro-Dominican traditions. And in this album, I focused to do it like that, to make it a little bit more accessible to the public as well. Writing more lyrics, almost all the songs I'm singing, and it's with call and response, chorus, and it's a lot of fun. You have like multiple different rhythms from Dominican Republic, as well as the fusion that I like to do with my influences, like with jazz, Afrobeat, funk here and there, etc., etc. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a fun album.
Well, I did the first thing that I heard was the first single, "Tu Eres Bonita," and it's a beautifully shot video, and it has kind of a unique messaging about what you wanted to convey about your a certain person, that may or may not be in your life. But what was going on with that song? What made you compose that song?
That song, the main inspiration was a celebration that happened in the south of Dominican Republic in San Cristobal called La Salve. Salve is a national rhythm, and it's an Afro-Dominican tradition that is played with percussion and panderos and vocals. And then there's this coro that are sung in the salve that is played with tambora, with percussion that goes in the floor called balsier, that is like, I call it the Dominican talking drum, like goes like boom, 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 boom.
Talking drum? Yeah.
Yeah, like the Dominican talking drum. They play it with the heels.
Yeah.
and they change the pitch of the drums with the heels, and they play with panderos and vocals. And there's this song that they sing in San Cristobal that they say this coro over and over. Tú eres bonita, el agua del río para beber. Tú eres bonita, el agua del río para tomar. Tú eres bonita. Everybody say, tú eres bonita, el agua del río para beber. Tú eres bonita, el agua del río para tomar. Tú eres bonita, el agua del... So the inspiration before the chorus, they just repeat things. They say the water of the river to drink, the water of the river to flow. But then I was like, oh, I like that choro. I can take that choro and actually create verses that reflect the beauty of women. Because for me, I was, when I was writing this song and creating the verses, I was like thinking how powerful women are as, you know, as the mothers of that, you know, give birth to the world, and as caregivers, and like the connection women had with nature. And I was thinking how powerful women are, and how beautiful women are, and how beautiful women are just because they are women. It doesn't matter. You can see in the video too that the story of the video is that it doesn't matter that you have makeup or not. You are powerful just the way you are. So that's the message through the verses of the song, of like embracing the power of women, and you know, everybody can relate it, you know, with their lover, with their wife, with their girlfriend. So that was the main thing, writing the lyrics, and that's the main thing behind the rhythm and the choro, where it came from. And the way we played is more as a merengue. Merengue is a super traditional style of music and dance from Dominican Republic, one of the most famous styles. And we played as a pambiche, which is a variation of merengue. And it's a mix of the salve with the pambiche of merengue, and that coro that comes from the countryside of Dominican Republic, from San Cristobal. Tú eres bonita.
Yeah, well, you know, this suggests like a few things. First of all, you know, it's kind of nice that you chose to do about women from this point of view, because so much Afro-Caribbean music either objectifies women or puts them on a pedestal as a way of capturing them, and you're letting the idea of women just sort of flow through in a natural way that is a stronger appreciation of women, you know, and that's great. And I think a lot of people will appreciate that. Yeah.
And now talking, we would like putting it together as well.
No.
Like that style that is called salve. It was first played by women only, singing and playing panderos, and they were singing no me tenga pena, so a lot of women sing that style, and then singing and playing panderos, and then that was first in church, and then it was outside church, and it was put together with the percussion, and women always were welcome to play that style in Afro-Dominican music too.
And it seems like you know, with the call and response that you were sort of performing there, that and the kind of choruses, to me, signals a little bit about the original religious purpose of a lot of this music, which in all the Afro-Caribbean music, we're listening to, a lot of times we're listening to secularized religious music. So, I mean, I see the spiritual. We were talking the other day about how you feel the spirituality of it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And yeah, because the Afro-Dominican music is connected with that, with their religion and the spirituality, and the popular religion in the countryside of the Dominican Republic is called 21 División, the 21 divisions. And it's basically the mix of the Catholic religion with African religion. It's like the syncretism, how the slave syncretized different saints. Let's say San Michael is Belia Belcan, but in the countryside of the Dominican Republic, they see it all together in church or outside the church, or praying for this saint, or playing drums and drinking rum. You know, is the spirituality of this music is really heavy, and is there 100%.
Why don't you tell me a little bit about your collaboration with Vicente Garcia, who I also got a chance to interview a couple of years ago, and who played in New York as well a couple of years ago. That he plays with Juan Luis Guerra, but he's living in Colombia now, and you have worked a lot with him. And what is that song like? What is the name of that one? Let me see.
It's called En el Naranjo. That's
En el Naranjo. Right.
El Naranjo is like the orange tree. And that was basically the first song I wrote of this album. And I'm just gonna play a little bit first. I'm gonna play a little bit, and then I'm gonna. La lluvia ya huele a tierra mojada y llega hasta el arado de tu piel. El sol que se recuerda entre mi cana negra me presenta mi destino a tu querer. Morena que verte por la mañana, no quiero despertar y que no esté muy bien. No voy a ver tu mes en mi semana, me guarde la polvera de tu piel. Dejemos la vaina, sembremos el querer y dame una niña de color de tu piel. Flor de mi cariño y de tu placer, la rama del niño arde en el naranjo. That's just a snippet of the song. And the full length of the song, you can hear it in Spotify. Is out because that was the second single that was out last month. And this collaboration with Vicente Garcia is a singer-songwriter from Dominican Republic that lives in Colombia, in Bogota. But we met a long time ago in Dominican Republic when we were growing up. When we were I was 13 years old, I think he was 15 or 16. And we did our first band together. And he was playing hardcore music, like heavy metal. And then we started growing up and like playing funk, playing jazz. And then he moved to Colombia and made his career. And then I moved to the United States and made my career. But we were always in touch. And we did a collaboration for my latest album, Quijombo, with one song called Amor Arayano. And then on this one is En el Naranjo. And it's basically the first composition that I wrote of the album. And it was in pandemic days. I wanted to get better at songwriting. I was studying songwriting, and I was every day trying to create, trying to read books of songwriting. And for this song, how it came to life is I was listening to a style and a rhythm an Afro-Dominican style called Congo de Villamella. That is a regional rhythm that only happened in Villamella, which is in the north of Santo Domingo. It's like 30 minutes north. And those communities there keep a really heavy Afro-Dominican traditions. They celebrate congos, salve, tripri, palos, mani, and a lot of different celebrations and rhythms that are rich. So that region is super rich. And I was listening to a song of Congos de Villamella that the Congo de Villamella has a clave that goes like ta 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 ta. Has one drums that is the small drums that go kim pa 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 kim, clave ta 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 pim pa kim pa kim pa kim pa kim pa kim, and then a big drum called Congo Mayor that kind of improvises and gives the bass and the groove like. And when you put all that together, the tim pa kim pa kim pa kim pa kim pa kim pa ka 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 ka, and they play with maracas too. And they have this song that just say, oh, 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 ah, que yo me voy, oh, 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 ah, pa Villamella, oh, 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 ah, ay, Juana, oh, 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 ah. And listening to that, it was only percussion and vocals as some of the Dominican roots rhythms and music is played. And I was like, let me see if like, oh, 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 ah, que yo me voy, oh, 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 ah. And I played those three chords and I was like, whoa, this can be something. And those three chords have like a more like a soulful kind of R&B vibe, where I, I play a lot of R&B when I moved to the United States as well. And I see how Afro-Dominican rhythms and R&B and gospel go together because it's the same roots basically. And then from there, I started the composition, and then I did the whole arrangement and the music composition. And I was, okay, I want to write something. And for some reason, I was stuck. I was like, I need help writing. Let me just call Vicente. We were still in pandemic days. And I found like a screenshot that me and he talked for like almost 5 hours. We were just like the whole day chilling. We were having coffee, then we ate, then we were having beer, and then it was like we were like giving shape to the song, to the lyrics. And when I sent it to him the first time, he came with the coro and the verse, and then I was like, okay, I love it, but let me write the second verse and the bridge and the outro so I can, and it helped me a lot of developing the songwriting process of that song, and actually the kind of unclogging the stuckness that I had for that song and even the whole album. Then after that, I was like writing lyrics for the other songs too.
Yeah, we got into a conversation about VMA, right? Isn't that where you went to this festival and you talked about it in my class at Columbia that time?
Yeah, in Villamella is where I went basically every Saturday for 2 years before moving to the United States. And then whenever I'm back in DR, back then I used to go 3 times a year every time I go there. But those 2 years were every Saturday going there because it's close to the capital where I'm from and my family live. And I was visiting this luthier that creates guitar tres, and he's from a lineage of a family that builds instruments. So his brother builds drums for the Afro-Dominican celebrations and traditions. And his whole family celebrate different styles of Afro-Dominican traditions and rhythms. And I was every Saturday there, like playing tres. He plays son, they have a tradition of playing Cuban song only in that part of Villamella, and but they play merengue, they play bachata on guitar and tres and cuatro, and hanging around there. After hanging with him, then we see the patios, backyards where and people were practicing congos, where people were practicing salves. There's one day that I went to the house of Casimiro Minier, that was his aunt, and he passed away a few years ago, almost like 100. He was almost like 100 years old, and I saw like cow skin and goat skin just getting dried to put it on the drums. I saw him building the drums from scratch, and I was like, how beautiful is how they keep the tradition and not let it die, and that's kind of their passion too. And I learned a lot of Dominican roots music from Villamella first, and going to Villamella because it's like infinite. Why you learn and why you trying to absorb to put it into your music or even to understand the styles. Because all the styles right now, I'm just saying a little bit of what it is, but all the styles you can go like really deep. They have their whole organization of things, and they whole like a whole like different rhythms, different chants that are for different reasons, etc. etc. But I learned a lot going there and exchanging knowledge with other artists that were alive back then, like Luis Diaz. Like Luis Diaz for me is the Dominican Jimi Hendrix. He was like the Dominican Bob Dylan, or Dominican. It's a combination of Dominican Bob Dylan and Jimi Hendrix. Luis Diaz. It's incredible, and I learned a lot through the artists that were doing experimentation with Afro-Dominican music, and they like picking their brain as well as going to the countryside and seeing those celebrations myself. And that's why when I started composing, I was like, I need to put this element in my music because this is what will make a difference in the world. And this is how I can showcase these rhythms in the world as well, and showcasing them, making a fusion with the stuff that I learned to play in the beginning, like heavy metal, like hard rock, hardcore, but then like funky or R&B or jazz or blues. So I tend to do a mix of all of that now that I feel is kind of under the skin and like breathing as it is. So it's fascinating.
Yeah. When you brought up that different sounding clave rhythm before, it almost was reminding me of the Brazilian samba, but there's a lot of different kinds of 5-beat rhythms that you seem to be balancing, especially because, on this record, you're using Haitian compa and sukus and Afrobeat, right? Do you think it's a matter of the different stresses in the 5-beat rhythm that distinguishes them, or what other kind of harmonic things attract you to those other African-derived rhythms, genre styles?
Like for example, the compa is from Haiti, and it attracts me all the time. Because you can relate it with merengue. You can play compa and merengue, but then studying like the compa guitar, I noticed the similarity that compa has with funk, and same with funk Afrobeat, because Fela Kuti Afrobeat, he was taking the two guitars that are one in the right, one in the left from James Brown, like the So there's one guitar doing that, and then the other. So okay, cool. I'm like, wow, compa is one guitar is doing. And the other one. And then I was like, wow, if you take that lead guitar of compa, it sounds, there's a similarity with Congolese guitar, with sukus or dombolo. And then I was like, wow, okay, compa has the similarity of like Congolese guitar. You can put it together. Similarity, a little bit of funk. And that similarity brought me to the Afrobeat too. So I'm like, wow, you could, this can live all together. And then adding the Dominican flavor, kind of like the merengue. Let's say like merengue. Baile compadre Juan, baile de medio lado, baile a pan pinchao, baile saque su dama, baile no pierde el tiempo, baile compadre Juan, baile compadre Juan. Like merengue we sound like. The same chords, but then including kind of more Congolese. And then it's the same beat too. That's how that song comes and goes. Canta conmigo y verás como tus penas se curan. No le mente, vamos allá. Dañando todo va a marchar. Viví la vida, busco una vuelta, positividad y estar alerta. La vida sigue y sigue igual y parece que el mundo no quiere cambiar. Canta conmigo y verás como tus penas se curan. No le des mente, vamos allá, que al final todo va a marchar. Vence los miedos, vuelve a intentar seguir los sueños hasta llegar, sentir la cabe felicidad, vivir los días, no hay nadie igual. Canta conmigo y verás como tus penas se curan. No le des mente, vamos allá. final todo va a marchar. So they're like, yeah, that song I showcase. The guitar is pretty. It's kind of guitar heavy song, and I wanted to do that fusion of the compa, a little bit of compa, sucus, dombolo, and putting that Dominican flavor too, like the merengue. Because in history too, there are groups like Los Diplomáticos de Haití, for example, that they have fusion of merengue and compa, and that group is made of Dominicans and Haitians that were living in the East, La Romana, and the group is, I think, is half Dominican, half Haitians, and the guitar players are Haitian. So I was studying to that group. I was like how they are making merengue and compa and that, and merengue has influenced Haitian music as well. How Haitian music influenced the merengue, even if some Dominicans say no, you can't deny that. which are the same. We're in the same island, you know. So I wanted to.
But I wanted to get you to talk a little bit about that history of Haiti and Dominican Republic, and maybe has an influence on why we have kind of a narrow view of what music from Dominican Republic is, because of the popularity of merengue and bachata, which is played in a kind of almost of a conservative way, right? I mean, just the same formula, except for people like Juan Luis Guerra.
Yes. Merengue bachata is the popular styles and from Dominican Republic. The Afro-Dominican rhythms or the Dominican roots rhythms are less known because it's tricky to live on an island when you share where is two countries with the story that we have a Haitian invasion for 22 years, and then we had a dictator for 30 years that wanted to refine the race and get rid of all the Haitians and do massacres and do horrible stuff, even burning some of our African ancestry and African everything that was written about our African ancestry. He kind of burned it. So it's really tricky, and like in Dominican Republic, we live these contradictions of people that say merengue and bachata is the Dominican style, but the Afro-Dominican music that is more Afro-oriented, that comes from the countryside of Dominican Republic, that comes from mostly dark-skinned people that do these practices. Usually, most of them are low-class citizen. So there's this contradiction that exists in Dominican Republic that people say, like, the nationalists say, like, our music is merengue and bachata, but the Afro-Dominican music is not our music. That's Haitian music. That's influenced from the Haitians that came from those 22 years. But it can be true. It is true that Haiti influenced in our music as well as we influence in Haitian music, because we even celebrate a tradition that is called Gaga or Raga that happened in Easter or the Holy Week. It happens in Haiti and Dominican Republic at the same time, the same week, and it happens in the communities where they have the sugarcane fields, and this been developing since the 1700s, late 1600s. So it's heavy the similarities that we have, and this is what I wanna point out in this album too. Is the similarity that we have with Haiti and Haiti with Dominican Republic, and the similarity that we have with United States, the similarity that we have with West Africa. And this album is basically, how I was telling you the other day, is basically a trip from the album started like with the Afrobeat starting from West Africa and then coming to Dominican Republic, how it happened in history that when the slave came, they came from Africa and Spain too, that they were domesticating them. And they came from there. So I'm taking like the Afro-European that came from Dominican Republic, you know, and putting the rhythms that happen with that blend of the European and the Afro and the Taino. We have like some of the Taino pulse in the album too. And that beautiful mix that we have, and you can hear Dominican rhythms and then Haitian rhythms like the compa. So I'm going from West Africa, Europe to Dominican Republic, mixing it with what was there, Taino, then going to Haiti with the compa, then from there going to here, to New Orleans with the jazz, and they say the soul, the R&B, and it's basically this trip that I want to make with this album, kind of tracing history and showcasing the similarity that we have, showcasing that we are more similar than different. Because we were talking the other day when the Haitian Revolution happened, which was the first Black Revolution. Haiti was on fire, and a lot of people, slaves, master, free people had to leave, and they ended up going to Cuba or New Orleans too. And before that, when the slave trade started in the United States, they first were intercepting ships that were going from Dominican Republic to Cuba or PR or other places, and making exchanges, let's say with barrels of whiskey or whatever exchanges they could make, and taking mans and bringing them to New Orleans. So this is like the trip that I wanted to put on the album through the music, and it's to show how similar we are as human beings, that we are not that different, and we come from, even that it seems it's different places, it's the same place. And a lot of lyrics have positive message too, like that one, like that song that I just played, that actually released today, Monday 15. It's on YouTube and on Bandcamp, and will be on the album that released May 19. And the lyrics are super positive. It's about how we worry how to control everything, or we worry like how next week gonna be, how this gonna happen, that, and then at the end everything works out. We just worry too much. So it's that positive message of like that the whole album have this like uplifting message and positive message and good vibes. Like you can sing, you can dance, and you can even cry if you feel it. Because I made this album with a lot of love and intention, with all the things that I talked before in mind. Because when I went to Dominican Republic, when I went to the first celebration of Dominican roots music, was a festival called Festival de Atanabales de Sainagua that happened in November. That for me, that's I explained that's like the Woodstock of Palos. Palos
Mhm.
is Afro-Dominican style and music that happened in the whole island. It's national. You have in the north, south, and in each region they play different with different accent, different way of dancing, less instruments, more instruments, etc., etc. And the first time I saw that, I almost cried, and it's because the connection I had with that and my family. My grandfather used to celebrate this tradition too, and I didn't get to meet him, but this is kind of the lineage that we have that is in our blood. So I felt like I need to I need to do more research about Dominican music, Dominican roots music, Afro Dominican music, and this is why I ended up injecting the rhythms, the Afro Dominican rhythms, and the styles and the celebrations in my music and in my live shows, and in this album La Madruga.
Mhm. Well, definitely, we need that message more often about things working out because, yeah, there's a lot of anxious people out there.
Right.
And that is a great message that I try to instill on other people, but you probably be more effective because you can dance to what you're how you're
Yeah.
conveying the message. But yeah, I mean, what you're talking about, first of all, I want to remind those of you in the audience that this last few minutes, you'll have an opportunity to post a question on the Q&A if you'd like. And yeah, this whole idea of the music moving, like for instance, the Changui genre of Cuba, there's a lot of Haitian influence on that. And then Changui is supposed to be the root of the son, right? Then you're talking about people playing son in Dominican Republic. And I remember interviewing Puerto Plata, that famous guy who
Amazing.
was talking about, yeah, when he did bachata, for him was like a party where people played all these different genres and not necessarily that fixed genre of bachata that we're all used to. So I
Yeah.
think that what you're doing here really reflects that, that the moving of people and the way that genres all live alongside each other. This just like how we're all different people too, the diversity of genres, right, in the Caribbean.
Yes, exactly.
So what else do you other songs on the record that you might want to talk about? Like you have a poet and an activist accompanying. You have Sergio. I'm sorry, uh,
Bebo
Juan
Dumont,
Troncoso, right? Yeah,
Jonathan Troncoso.
right, right. Sure.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about those. What's on your agenda there?
I wanted to collaborate with as many friends that I could, like Vicente Garcia, Bebo Dumont from Puerto Rico, um, uh, Gaisa Jimenez, which is like a poet and activist. I wanted to have spoken word um, in the last song of the album, and she wrote something beautiful about the roots and it's abstract, but it's really beautiful and it's with a message, with a positive message of how we should embrace our roots and don't deny it. That's the main message of my project because of what I say earlier. A lot of people in the Dominican Republic want to deny their roots because because of the history that we briefly talked about. But yeah, I have that power, and then I wanted to collaborate with a longtime friend Bebo Dumont, which is a singer, songwriter, drummer, percussion player. He played drums with Cultura Profética from Puerto Rico, and he played percussion and he writes. And I know him since long time ago. I met him in Boston at Berkeley College, and when I heard his voice, I told him like, "There's we're
Hmm.
gonna collaborate at some point," and we made it
Hmm.
happen on this record. And then Jonathan Troncoso, Jay Black, is the percussion player of the band, and he sings
Right.
so incredible, and he sounds like he had the sound of like the countryside singer, Like he have that
Hmm.
raspy voice and like that attack. And I was like, man, I need you singing all that verses on this song called La Vereda, which is a style called La Sarandunga de Bani that happens in in Bani, in the south of Dominican Republic. Uh, in devotion to St. John the Baptist on June 23rd, 24th, and 29th, they do a big celebration and they play this style that is called Sarandunga. And he played it really well
Hmm.
and sing it. And we play it a lot live. So I was like, man, I need to record this with you. So those that's where the featuring I have in the album. And it's so beautiful to have those collaborations. It came super natural, like organically, and it turned out really beautiful.
Yeah, yeah. Bevo, I met once, and yeah, it's true that he got to sing for Cultura, despite the what intense presence, the lead singer was, whose name I forget, but there's a few questions from the
I
audience, right?
love the
The
questions. Let's
first
do it.
one,
Let's go for it.
oh yeah, right. So you can see them like Kate, I was almost going to ask you the same question, but I kind of realized that it was about women in general, but whether some particular person inspired this song for you, the
Yeah,
Tu eres bonita.
in the beginning, thank you, Kate. So in the beginning, I wanted to do three verses of like, okay, what a dad will think about their daughter, or like, and then the second verse, what like you will think about your lover or your girlfriend, your wife, and then the third verse was what you think about your mom, like the different levels of like the kid, your lover, or your mom, or your grandma. But then I put it together. I was like, I don't want it to make it confusing, and yeah, it's inspired by like my wife, that she's a musician as well, and she helped me a lot with the. She's a vocalist, and she helped me a lot, like develop my technique, my vocal technique, and even the songwriting. But yes, that was a good question.
Mhm. It's wonderful. We have a time for the other two, and this is something I might ask you too, like how has New York City influenced the development of your personal sound? And many people don't realize that so much Latin music gets made in New York City and not really in Latin America. But go ahead.
Oh yeah, that's a really cool question. Like influenced a lot because it's so cool. New York is like the capital of the world. That there was a time I was hanging a lot with the Colombian community and checking like cumbia or cumbia psicodelica and like getting that vibe, and I'm going, oh, this is pretty cool. This can this trance moment of cumbia can come together with Dominican music that are like trance based, let's say. But even writing, it has like like New York could be aggressive if you live in the city. Even if you live in Brooklyn and you're taking the train to the city, it can be pretty aggressive. So there's some moments that you get kind of like ah, and I put that in my music too, kind of like distortion sounds, like fast feels like chicka bonking, chicka bonking. I remember like like that kind of when I was writing that song particular, I had like kind of the New York aggressive mentality. But being in New York and seeing music from all over, like I mentioned, Colombia, but music from Venezuela, boleros, music from Haiti, music from Africa. Going to check the Mandingo ambassadors on a Wednesday in Barbes, checking different groups. Then unconsciously, that keeps like in your soul. It's like hanging in there. So it influenced my music, and it's beautiful. Let's say if there's, I used to check back in the day like Terra blues, like a lot of blues, and I was like, wow, I can relate this with Salve, that it has the blues. I used to play in a Baptist church playing gospel, and I saw the similarities that we have too with the gospel. And I even started making fusion of gospel and merengue as well, and they go incredibly well together. Playing funky music, uh, staying like on Bedford Avenue on the L train and seeing like a Gambia Cora player that he's incredible, and I miss 10 trains that are going my way, and I'm like, and then this stay on loop on my head, and then unconsciously I'll come home, pick up the guitar, and something comes from that, and it's this thing lingering, and that's the beautiful thing about music. Music is so universal. Music is universal. It doesn't matter like where it come from, but when you put it together in your head, that's the beautiful thing of that, the creation that can comes with those influences. So yes, New York really influenced my sound. I used to play a lot of R&B too, hip hop as well, like live hip hop, gospel, blues. So all those influenced my composition and my sound.
And that's why everybody should come up to Harlem Live to see you in a couple of weeks, right? Like the way
June 8th,
yeah.
Harlem Stage is gonna be an amazing event. I'm gonna be with the whole band. I'm gonna play songs from the new album, traditional songs. There's gonna be a dancer too, and everybody will be on their feet dancing Dominican music.
That's Aaron Davis Hall? Yeah.
Harlem Station is close to there. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, okay. I think it's in front of Aaron Davis.
Okay.
I think so.
Right.
You guys can correct me,
pretty much
but it's there.
Just yeah, I'm trying to give people information. So what the last question, what part of Africa influenced your music the most? So, we think of Congo, we think of Nigeria, Nigeria. I mean, tell me a little bit about that. Or is it just a sound you're looking for and not necessarily going to one area?
Not going through one area, but definitely like Congo, Democratic Republic of Congo, how they say. Congo, Angola, like we had in Villamella, some researchers said there was a heavy Congo-Angolese mix of slaves that were there, for example. And when I heard that the first time, I was like, oh my God, I want to check more Congolese music and inject it to that, for example. But lately I've been checking Madagascar. Madagascar, Zapika is incredible. And the way they play the guitar, I'm like, this is amazing, because they play like a trio, guitar, drums, and bass. They have a type of bass that I don't know the name, and a type of drum. But when the first time I heard it, I was like, wow, this can be relayed with a style of Dominican Republic that is called Pri Pri. And I went listening a lot of Malagasy Zapika and got so much influence for the guitar and to inject in my music as well. So yeah, and then Nigeria, of course, that mix. And I'm constantly searching and getting inspiration of different artists, and it's me as a guitar player is fascinating checking other styles that I didn't know about at all. Like, for example, listening to Afro-pop worldwide is how I checked the Malagasy Zapika. I was like, wait, what? And then I went to Spotify, downloaded everything, started learning the style of Malagasy Zapika, and then I was like, wow, this is like, it's you can relate it with Dominican merengue and Pri Pri. And studying the roots of merengue, there's different theories, and then one theory that say there was a tribe from Madagascar that was in the air that kind of injected something. So there's different theories of merengues, because there's not like, it's not like the bachata. You can't find like the origin of that style of music, because he had influence from all over, from Haiti, from PR, from Cuba, from Africa, so from Spain, from Andalusia, you know. So that's the beautiful thing of music in general, you know. So yes.
Well,
I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. I mean, music, as you said, unites and brings people together, and we all can see as well that our motto is always like many cultures, one world. And listening to this conversation, we traveled big parts of that world, and we thank you for it. We hope everybody is going to join us, those who are living in the United States or in New York, on June 8th at Harlem Stage to see Yasser with his full band play live. I want to thank you both again for a great conversation and for all of the music that you shared, and all of our guests for joining us. We hope you'll join us again for our next at-home session. And thank you for your interest in and enthusiasm for like the great music from all the cultures from around the world. Thank you and have a great evening. Goodbye.